We got a deeper dive into Friday night's victory and much more on a Monday Locked On Lions.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, it's a brand new week of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Matt Derry with you on a Monday edition here on August the 11th and Tuesday, August 12th. Thanks for making us your first listen, everybody, and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Shout out to our everydayers that watch or listen to the podcast daily. Appreciate all of you. Ran into some everydayers today and some of our podcast listeners at the Walsh College Golf Outing, which was a lot of fun. So I was representing one of our companies today, Q5 Experience, where we help business owners with their exit plans. And a lot of people came up and talked Lions with me, and appreciate all of you. Locked On Lions today, brought to you by our friends at the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app. If you're looking for tickets, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. A lot to get into today. We'll have an update on Mo Norris. Great news on him, as he, of course, was significantly and seriously injured in Friday night's preseason game in Atlanta that got suspended. We'll give you an update on him. Some other injuries piling up, including today with Ahmed Hassanin. We'll get into that. O-line was intact for the first time in training camp today. We have a Za Darius Smith update as well. And Mike Sando, he of theathletic.com, the Sando quarterback tiers are out. We're going to have him on the program on Thursday of this week. Lions are back at it Saturday afternoon, 1 o'clock at Ford Field for their first home preseason game, as they'll take on Tua and the Miami Dolphins. And I will be in attendance on Saturday for that game. So we'll get you ready for that game as well. This week, there will be some joint practices with the Dolphins later on in the week. The team was on the field today for workouts. All right. Let's recap Friday again. In case you missed Friday's show, we had great viewership and listenership for Friday night's late night show after the Lions 17-10 suspended victory over the Atlanta Falcons in a game that, of course, ended with about 14 minutes to go in the fourth quarter due to the significant neck and head injury to Mo Norris, which we'll get to. But the good news is Mo Norris is back in Detroit. He's back at the facility. He's in concussion protocol, but improving daily, and that's a great thing. Look, the biggest storyline from Friday night, which we talked about on Friday, but I'll recap real fast, is the backup quarterback situation and how Kyle Allen significantly outplayed Hendon Hooker. Today, Dan Campbell said he loved what Allen brought to the table. He said that Hooker had some good moments, but the two fumbles forced Dan Campbell to pull Hooker early and get him out of the game and bring Allen in the second quarter. So Allen's got a leg up right now. Who knows if either guy will win the job? Maybe they go out and get another quarterback. Anything's possible on the table, as we've got just a few days less than a month away from September 7th and the opener, of course, against the Green Bay Packers. Our friends at Pro Football Focus did grade the game. And as we do after every game, let's give you our top 5 and bottom 5 Lion performers from Friday night's game against the Falcons. Now, last week, one of our everydayers, gosh, I'm forgetting who said this on Call of the Day, suggested to me that we should do it Casey Kasem style. Was it Steve Facine that said we should do it Casey Kasem style and go 5-1 with offense and defense? So let's do that. All right. So on offense, the highest rated players from Friday night's game against the Falcons. At number 5, it was a tie between Kingsley Equigon, the center, at a 73.7, and Isaac Tesla, the wide receiver, also at a 73.7. At number 3, third best grade, Jackson Meeks, the wide receiver from Syracuse, caught a touchdown pass, caught a deep ball from Kyle Allen, graded at an 83.0. Former Michigan Wolverine, yes, Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike. Ronnie Bell, cool it now, 83.6, the wide receiver. And at number 1, on the Billboard charts, Top rated offensive performer was Kyle Allen, who had a perfect passer rating in this game and finished with a grade of 91.2. Tops on the team. As far as the bottom 5 Lion performers, fifth worst was Shane Zylstra, the Flying Zylstra brothers, the tight end, 52.3. Giovanni Manu, who just seems to be so much better. Some weeks Giovanni Manu's great in practice, bad in games. Some weeks he's great, bad in practice, great in games. He was not so good here, 47.9. Third lowest grade, Kenny Yeboah, the tight end, at 47.6, and then he got hurt and is going to be lost for the season. Was put on injured reserve the other day. Right tackle Mason Miller had a bad game, 46.6, and Coyote Awashika, who played left guard in Friday night's game against the Falcons, lowest rated offensive performer at 40.3. Those are your top 5 and bottom 5 Lions on offense for Friday night. On defense, the 5th best grade, Trevor Nowaski, outside linebacker, 75.2. No surprise. And this guy has had an excellent camp and preseason so far. Rock Yassin, cornerback, 78.1, good for 4th best on the team. Nick Whiteside, the cornerback, local product, 84.6. Zach Cunningham, who's played very well at linebacker, good depth piece. Nice pickup by Brad Holmes this offseason, a veteran that knows how to play, at 86.5. Highest graded Lion on defense. This is a name we've brought up. This is a name that I think is cementing itself as somebody that is going to make the roster, is edge rusher Nate Lynn. 87.2 grade, including a pass rush grade of 85.5. That is great stuff from number 57 as he continues to try to make his mark and make the roster. Lions need all the help they can get on edge rusher. What if Nate Lynn becomes a name to keep an eye on? Love to see that. As far as the worst performers from the Lions, 5th worst, Ezekiel Turner, the linebacker, has had 2 very subpar games, 40.5. Eric Hallett, who was playing both safety and corner in this game, 4th lowest grade at 37.4. Mitchell Agude, edge rusher, 34.0. Isaac Ukwu, also edge rusher, struggled to get to the passer, 33.3 grade. And the lowest graded Lion from Friday night's game against the Falcons, Chris Smith, the pride of Cranbrook High School in Notre Dame, 32.8. Tyleek Williams, by the way, in his debut for the Lions, graded out as the 14th highest rated Lion at 60.6. Not great, not bad. So those are your top 5 and bottom 5 Lions, according to Pro Football Focus. Again, the defensive line was improved. You saw some run stopping. You saw some penetration in the backfield. You saw some pressure on the quarterback. After the opener, which wasn't good, it was the Hall of Fame game. This was an improved performance by the defense. And I'm loving what I'm seeing from Rock Yassin. He's played fantastic football. Now the big test will be, how will he do in these joint practices this week, going up against Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and the speed that the Dolphins have at wide receiver during those practice sessions that will take place down at 222 Rodwood Drive there at the Meyer Performance Center. That's where the butter is going to be bread. The bread is going to be buttered this week, is those joint practices and how the starters do in those games. But again, the Lions will play a lot of the backups again Saturday at Ford Field in preseason game number 2. And look, this is preseason, all right? In Cleveland right now, they think Shedeur Sanders is the second coming of, Joe Montana, all right? In Green Bay, did anybody watch the Packers the other night? The Packers were awful against the Jets, sloppy, dropping passes. Jaden Reed got hurt and was in a walking boot. It was a poor performance, and Matt LaFleur was not happy after that game the other day. All right. But again, first preseason game. Aaron Glenn was so happy. He's like, hey, you gotta have winning habits, got to create winning habits. And he was very, very pleased with what he saw from his Jets team. So good for Aaron Glenn on that, but the Packers were not good. Anybody else watch the Bears yesterday too? In their preseason game, it was a Sunday afternoon game. Man, Ben Johnson on the sidelines, gruffing and doing his Hulk Hogan impersonation, posing. He's gone a little Hollywood on us. God bless Ben Johnson and the job he did here, but Benedict has gone a little Hollywood for sure. He loves being the head coach. All right, coming up next, let's give you the full-on update on what Dan Campbell had to say about Maurice Norris. Great news. We'll get to that next right here on a Monday, Locked On Lions. And Locked On Lions today is brought to you by our friends at Yahoo Fantasy. Who is excited about fantasy football? It's the best time of year. NFL kickoff is closing in, and that means fantasy football season is back and in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, me, Locked On Lions, we're going to play on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league, all right? I've used Yahoo Fantasy for years, and the updates they're rolling out this month are wild, but in the best way. And seriously, to celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. The season around the corner, now's the time to get your league together and give the new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, which you might be, you can still play in head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. All right, so as we discussed on Friday, a very scary moment in the fourth quarter of the Lions-Falcons game as Nathan Carter was running the football toward the left side of the offensive line, got through the line for the Falcons, and coming up from his safety spot was Maurice Norris, wearing number 26, came up to try to wrap him up, got kneed by Carter in the head, then his head and helmet hit the turf. Many people have posted videos on social media. He was shaking. He was down. It was scary. Lion players walked away from it. Guys were crying. Guys were on one knee. And it took about 15 or 20 minutes to get him stable, out of his shoulder pads, onto a board, and into an ambulance, and to the hospital, where Maurice Norris was heavily concussed. And the good news is that Friday night, he was breathing on his own. He was talking a little bit, and he already had made progress as he had gotten to the hospital. Today, Dan Campbell says that Norris is back in the team, was back at the facility this weekend, and is in concussion protocol. They'll check his progress in a couple of weeks. Campbell said today, quote, "It's good to have him back. He's good." So obviously Maurice is in concussion protocol. We're going to take it nice and easy here. Make sure he's good over the next, call it 10 to 14 days, and reassess. End quote from Dan Campbell. Look, I'm telling you this. It's incredible. I'll never forget this. The first time I moved here in August of 1996 to work at WDFN, and I remember going to my first Lions preseason game to cover the game for the station, get sound in the locker room, interview players, whatever, send the tape and the interviews and all the audio back to the station. So there were sound bites for Saturday and Sunday. This was probably a Friday night Lions preseason game in August when I had moved here. And I can remember that they used to let the media down onto the field for the last 5 minutes of the game so you could talk to players as they came off the field, etc. And I can remember being on the sidelines at the Silverdome, and I was just in awe and stunned how fast the game was and how vicious the game was. Guys were getting hit and tackled in front of me, and from somebody that went to Syracuse and was in the dome for football games, I never was on the sidelines. I'm never that close to the action. All right. To be down there that close and to witness the carnage that takes place. These guys have sacrificed their bodies, and the respect I have is unbelievable. So to watch this Friday night and to see Norris get hurt like this, it's scary. It's a vicious game. One hit, one play could be the end of your career, could be the end of your life, right? I mean, so for him to be all right after everything he went through Friday night is just such a relief, such a relief. So now it's like, hey, let's not even worry about him coming back and playing in the next couple of weeks or even being ready for September 7th. It's a concussion protocol. They'll continue to update the media on it. They're going to take it slow. But this is a great sign. Now, this injury is one of many that the Lions are dealing with right now. The other day in the preseason game, Colby Sorsdahl, whom, of course, Brad Holmes selected in the middle rounds a few years ago, the offensive lineman, and the backup tackle, Justin Herron, both got hurt Friday. Herron got hurt in warmups. Sorsdahl got hurt during the game. Those guys have been placed on season-ending injured reserve, so their seasons are done. Tristan Colon, who was working at center and trying to win the backup center job behind Graham Glasgow, he left Friday's preseason game with an injured elbow. Dan Campbell said today he's going to be out for a while. So now the Lions are down to Kingsley Equigon and Michael Neese for the backup center job behind Graham Glasgow. They're going to continue, as we know, to be working in Tate Ratledge, but I think the Lions really like what they saw from Ratledge in this game the other night at right guard. Ratledge, by the way, give you his PFF grade. Ratledge, by the way, on Friday, graded out 9th best on the Lions, 65.3. Not bad. Not bad in 24 snaps at right guard. Taylor Decker back at practice today. I want to talk about that in a second. Dan Skipper and Jamarco Jones limited in practice. Those guys are also backup tackles and, guys that the Lions are eventually going to maybe count on for depth. I know they like Jones. We know they love Dan Skipper. Also today, Ahmed Hassanin, the Lions' 6th round pick, he left practice early with a lower body injury. As he was walking off practice today, his leg rolled up during team drills. This, according to Pride of Detroit's Jeremy Reisman, exited the field walking gingerly. Evaluated by trainers, finished practice watching from a seated position on a water cooler. But then when he limped past the media after practice, he gave a generic, "I'm good" response. Dan Campbell will talk Wednesday before the joint practice with the Dolphins and certainly have an update on Hassanin. The Lions have had a lot of injuries, both before training camp even started, and now during camp. But let me say this. I'm not going to panic and tell you that the Lions need to change anything, or the Lions need to fire their strength and conditioning team, or the Lions need to stop working out in pads. This is luck of the draw. This happens. But the amount of guys that have been banged up, and look, they can't afford to be losing any of these edge rushers. A guy like Hassanin, you love the effort, you love the motor, you love what you've been seeing over the past few weeks, especially during training camp. But my gosh, the injuries that are piling up are absolutely crazy. I mean, right now the Lions have, who didn't practice today, Dominic Lovett's out a while. Tim Patrick hasn't practiced. Sione Vaki has been dealing with a hamstring. Tristan Colon, I mentioned. Pat O'Connor didn't play in the last preseason game. He's got a leg injury. Terrion Arnold's still going to be a little bit of a while here in the preseason with the hamstring. Maurice Norris, everything else. We already know about Mekhi Wingo, Rodrigo, Aleem McNeil, Josh Paschal, Khalil Dorsey's on PUP, Miles Frazier's on PUP. A lot of guys on that defense, a lot. So they're going to be very careful, especially in this game on Saturday with the Dolphins, and just limiting who's going to be out there again, because they can't afford to lose any more guys. This is getting crazy. All right. Something happened today at practice with the offensive line, which I think is a huge plus. Huge plus. We're going to talk about that. And yes, we have a Za Darius Smith update, but no, it is not about his contract. Za Darius Smith is back on the market, ladies, but it's not the free agent market. It's the other free agent market. We will explain coming up next. And Locked On Lions today brought to you by Gametime. Who's looking for tickets? You've all been there, logging on early, waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, right? Not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Gametime comes in. Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. All right. Are you tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal? All right. Who's going up to Pine Knob tonight for Yacht Rock? Get your tickets at Gametime. Gametime zone deals. Pick the best seats in your section for you. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Every time I hear guaranteed during that Gametime app, I always think of my guy Ryan Field, former Detroit sportscaster, now in New York. He used to say guaranteed, but he said it in a way at WDFN that was hilarious when he was doing sports updates. I also think about guaranteed with Rasheed Wallace. All right, something happened today at practice. Thank goodness it took place. For the first time in training camp, the first time since the Lions been on the field since July. Taylor Decker, left tackle. Christian Mahogany, left guard. Graham Glasgow, center. Tate Ratledge, right guard. Right tackle, Penei Sewell. The Lions had their first team offensive line intact today, and the offense ran the best it's run since training camp has started. We've discussed it. We've talked about it ad nauseum. We've repeated ourselves. This team will only go as far as this offensive line takes them. Yes, they've got an excellent quarterback. All right. They've got as good a wide receiver as there is in the league. They got a budding superstar at the other wide receiver. They got good depth at wideout. We've talked about Isaac Tesla and how good he looks in the preseason. Their tight end is all world and Sam Laporta. All right. Their running backs could be the best tandem in the game with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. And I love me some Craig Reynolds. Come on, Craig. But the O-line's got to be healthy, and these guys got to have time in the next month to work together. And that's exactly what took place today at practice, which is an awesome sight to see. So important. Getting Taylor Decker back. He's been out the last couple of weeks. Having Ratledge at right guard and knowing that Ratledge is going to be at right guard. They haven't been switching him around the last couple of weeks. They started with him at center. I think they're more comfortable with Glasgow and Goff in that relationship for now. And Penei Sewell, as we've mentioned before, right tackles, he's as good as there is. I think they love Mahogany too, and what he's bringing to the table at left guard in his second season. So I love this. This is a big step in the right direction today. And the offense had one of its better days of training camp. And I think it's because the first team offensive line was there and healthy, which is great news. All right. As far as the Za Darius Smith update, we told you last week that Brad Holmes was on 97.1 The Ticket's morning show and was asked about progress with Za Darius Smith. And he said, we like him. He likes us. There's no progress yet. We've been talking. Maybe, and that's all Brad Holmes would say. I still believe that before training camp is over or before the month of August is over, that Za Darius Smith will be with the Lions at a reduced rate, maybe a lot of bonuses and incentives in that contract. Well, this weekend, a bombshell was dropped. Local Detroit rapper and Za Darius Smith's girlfriend is now his ex-girlfriend. That's right. Cash Doll announced on her social media and then deleted it that her and Za Darius had broken up. This was making the rounds on the socials. Cash Doll and Za Darius had been spotted at a plethora of Pistons games. Some of my CWPFs, close, warm, personal friends, Rob. That's a terrible Rob Parker impression. Had spotted them as well around town. They seem to be in love, and it sounds like it's over as she announced it. Now, she has since deleted the post. I don't know if they got back together over the last 24 hours or not. What this means for Za Darius Smith, I have no idea. Does this mean he wants to be out of Detroit and not near her? I don't know, but I'm just giving you the update because it's out there that Za Darius Smith and Cash Doll are broken up. Some people had speculated that, now that the romance is over, he can focus on football and maybe he'll join the Lions then. I don't know. I'm just telling you right here, right now, that is what I read. That's what I saw. And if that has any effect on Za Darius Smith getting in shape and getting ready to play and signing with the team, I don't know. But my job here on Locked On Lions is to give you the breaking news. My job at times is to give you the meat and potatoes that you want when it comes to your football team. My main man, Mike Vanderpool, one of our everyday listeners, one of my old school Lions followers going back to Detroit Sports 105.1. He keeps me abreast of some of this stuff. So there you go. That's the update, at least for right now, on Za Darius Smith. I do believe he will eventually be signing here. I do. And with the injuries that have popped up along the D-line, we'll find out Wednesday morning on Ahmed Hassanin and what is going on there. Might be here sooner rather than later. But you knew he wasn't going to come and sign before, training camp will be over in like a week and a half, and then they go into just practices. I don't think you're going to see him as training camp is still going on. All right, Mike Sando, quarterback tiers. Where is Jared Goff ranking? We're going to have him on Thursday. We'll have joint practice stuff on Wednesday. Stick with us all week right here on Locked On Lions on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day.